right, I think I am live. Hypothetically, I'm live. I may not. Ooh, that signal sucks. La-da-dee, la-da-da. All right, folks. Well, I'm not sure if I'm live or not. So if anyone does actually get in the chat, by all means, let me know. You can actually, see me. Oh, hi. Thanks, Miss Sharon. Hey, Scott. Thank you. So I'm outside and I'm getting these weird little signal warnings. Thank you, Jeep Girl. Hey, what's going on, Redleg? How are you? Why will this not leave my chat up? Okay, doing a live stream on an iPad versus my computer is absolutely weird. Hey, Nostra, what's going on? Candy, wait, and Wendy. Hey, what's going on, Wendy? So, I hope you all doing well. I wasn't going to go live today, but everything hurts from yesterday and I don't want to do anything. Hey, Joe. Hey, Heathen, what's going on? Yeah, hey, Heathen, if you go by the Boudin place in Lake Charles, let me know if they still make that good Boudin. I don't remember the name of it. It was some weird stop. Hey, JH, what's going on? Uh, so yesterday I spent the whole day, I got my hands on commercial shelving, like the 10,000 pound rated stuff. And Sassy was meeting another group of boutique people and they were like collaborating. So it's pretty much just me. And I assembled all that shit by myself. And then I moved all the stuff in the garage from left to right. Uh, Having a white supreme pizza. I thought you put white supremacist pizza. This is what happens when I don't bring my glasses outside. I wear the sunglasses. So, by the way, Heathen in Houston, Abear's family actually opened a meat place, and I can get my turducken there, but I have to either go down to Houston to get it, or they ship it to me in dry ice. But we still, it's been 17 years since we moved out of Louisiana. I still do a turducken almost every Christmas and Thanksgiving, except for one because we were in Hawaii. Hey, hey, Estatine, how are you? Focus P, go get your cheaters on. So, but the white supremacist pizza. But keep in mind that's something Joe would put in my live stream. He's like, I have white supremacist pizza, and then he waits to see my reaction. This is not a thing that Joe has not done before. But geez, we put that shelving. I put that shelving together and moved everything around. I probably moved, a couple of 1,000 pounds of gear back and forth, and now everything's organized. My wife came back yesterday evening, and I opened the garage door, and she goes, "Whoa, look at all the room we have." And I was like, "Yeah, that's the idea." Um, because it's a smaller house here out west than we had in Houston, because the price per square foot is higher, largely because there's lack of housing, right? There are not as many people historically living in this part of the world or this part of the state. So they didn't build as many houses. I mean, it's just simple supply and demand. So you get a smaller house and it costs you more. Uh, but you have less room to store stuff. So you had to start getting really creative. So I was hurting. I was going to do the yard and I'm walking around. I'm like, God, everything hurts. And I'm going to pull something and then I'll be keeled over for 2 days. So uh, I'm going to chill out. But folks, I'll tell you what, I'm curious to see what this week's going to bring. And go go get your cheaters on. Yeah, no kidding. Sausage market. Well, good question, because the company moved us out here only for typically 3 to 6 years, and then we jump again. And I'm hoping at my age and my seniority, the next jump is the last one. So we're already pre-shopping the most likely cities we'll wind up in, which will be either in Texas, outside chance, maybe Oklahoma. Hey, Sherry. And no, it ain't for sissies. That's for sure, Nostra. Um, but on the next one, we're gonna get we're looking for acreage, at least 2 to 5, something manageable. Since my kids are kind of scattered around Texas, I don't want to get something so big that as I get older, hey, dreaded, you start struggling with being able to keep up with what you're doing. You know what I mean? 3 to 5. My uncle was a prepper, didn't call himself one, but he was. He had a garden, he had welding equipment, lived out in the country, had his own water well, even though they had city. He was that guy, but he was a Cold War Navy guy too. Um, but he had about 4 acres, and that was about a perfect size. So, and also, at some point I'm expecting grandchildren, so I want enough room where I could put a stock pond and then just throw little fish in there and let them kind of propagate or do fish things, and then have the kids come over and go fishing with grandpa. So that's something to look forward to too. And I'm a relatively young empty nester, so I'm hoping I'll be young enough to have fun with the kids. But yeah, the cost of the houses here is much higher, so I have to get very creative with my vertical storage space. Um, and part of what motivated me to do this is what happened last week. I mean, I spent a good chunk of change getting this new shelving put in, and now I'm going to sell the old stuff I had. But yeah, so Economic Ninja, and I didn't get to listen to all of it, but he put out a short video for him, because usually he's about 15 minute to 20 minute, even when he's premiering, he's not live streaming. And this was about a 10-minute video, which is kind of quick for him. And OKP's closer to New Orleans. Well, I might actually be there at some point. I got a family in Slidell. So we may be the only Kunas Mexican family you may ever meet. And it's an interesting family when we all get together. You'd have like cuchifritos, tacos, and boudin all on the same table. And everyone's cool with it, right? They just eat whatever. Hey, coffee. Uh, I lived in Homa, and I lived in Youngsville for years. That's why my kids are so rambunctious. They lived in South Louisiana for too long in their childhood. But as I was saying, part of what motivated me was what I was seeing in the bunch of swearing in Spanish and French even. Uh, but what I was watching, the banks, right? So we all know that Silicon Valley took a dump. And then Wells Fargo apparently was having issues with direct deposits. So a lot of people were not getting their direct deposits. Wells Fargo said it was a technical issue. Could have been a hack, could have been a computer went down, could have been, nobody really knows. Um, However, that's concerning, right? Because a lot of people may not have reserves in their bank. You're waiting on that paycheck to pay the car or the mortgage, and now it's 3 days late, and it's not a showstopper, but it's a pain in the ass. It could cost you a late fee, right? And that was concerning to me. So anyway, this weekend, while my wife was down there with the other ladies from their kind of like their Etsy crafting group, and they all have little side gigs, right? All side businesses. One of the other ladies in her Facebook group sent her a picture, which she sent to me, which was a message from Etsy saying that their they had a bunch of their funds tied up in Silicon Valley Bank. And so people who were making, no, this is off schedule, Magic. This was a pop up. Um, a lot of the uh, people who make a living on Etsy right now are having issues, right? And in our case, it's kind of a side thing she does, which doesn't hurt, right? Any money is good money, but a lot of folks who do this for a living, like they legit make stuff, they're painters or you know, whatever it is they're doing, they can't sell their product. And I don't know if it's been resolved. I'm hoping it has, but she got the email from her Etsy notifications and then took a snapshot and passed it to all the ladies. So, hey, Papa's Farm. Hold on, I lost a few people popped in on me. Hey, Papa's Farm, welcome. And did I miss anyone? Hey, Tracy, I didn't see you sneak in on me there. Sherry Leach, hola, hola. I'm not on StreamYard, so I can't pop you guys up there. Astatine, hello, hello. Candy Dudette. Please send goats. I need goats so my corgis will have something to do. I hope people build guns on it. There you go. Yeah, well, Joe, that's the thing. So Monday they open back up, and that's good. So anyway, as I was saying, Economic Ninja put out a notice or put out a short video. Like I said, it's short for him because usually it takes about 15 minutes to make his point, and he kind of walks through his logic. He basically was, and I only got to listen to about half of it, that Japanese banks are reporting certain issues, but I didn't get to the point where what issues were going on. And part of that was what motivated me. And I'd been dragging my feet to increase storage options in the residence. And there are things you can do that don't necessarily involve buying new shelving systems. You can build them if you have the means to, or you can repurpose that which you already have. You may have something on shelves that you really don't need, or it doesn't need to be like that, and you can clear it out. Making a little extra room. I'm glad you were able to make it, Papas. The bank screws rump. Kind of like what was that movie with Michael Douglas falling down, where they fire him and then he goes like completely bonkers, robs the bank, takes a machine gun to McDonald's, and complains that, why do they stop breakfast at 10:30 if I want breakfast at noon? Man, it's an old movie. I hadn't seen it since I was a kid, but um, yeah, the okay, did I get the right movie? Coffee? Okay, it is falling down. All right, but Ninja likes to talk. Yeah, he does, and he has fun doing it, and that's why I enjoy watching him because he's just having a good time talking about it. So somebody sent me a meme. It was quite epic. It was what's that knucklehead who tells you buy stocks? He freaks out the ball guy. Joe Kramer. So Kramer last year had said buy FTX, great buy, and then FTX got cratered. And then 2 weeks ago he said buy Silicon Valley, and then Silicon Valley cratered. So he put out a tweet. What the hell do you call a tweet? Anyway, on Twitter saying, "Oh, Chase is a fortress," and I'm thinking, don't quit naming banks, dude. And he goes, somebody sends me a meme. It's death, a cartoon of death, like a little ghost with the scythe, but it has Kramer's face stuck on the hood, and you see two little dead dudes. One has FTX on his chest. One has Silicon Valley, and Chase is running away, and he's chasing him with the sickle. Um, but it's yeah, Nostra, yeah. So there've been concerns that other banks, if they're not properly positioned, will fail. And what it looks like almost, and I'm not a finance guy, I know enough to be really dangerous about it because I understand it. I just don't know the little granularity. It looks like 2008 all over again, where the bank screwed up. Remember when Enron killed over? And I remember I was in that sector. Um, it was basically Death Kramer, Joe. Yeah, but a cartoon, so it made it even funnier. Um, these these banks, some of them over leveraged. They invested in stupid crap, and yeah, we might see it affect other banks because these guys, they loan back and forth to one another, and ultimately it could cost us problems. So, I spent a good part of the weekend while I was building this. Yeah, and what it is, technically it's regulated, like regulated, but what they're doing, going through, they're kind of finding little, how shall I say, little caveats. They're finding ways to do things around around their around the rules, so little loopholes. So yeah, boo, yeah, no kidding, Navi. So Yeah, it's one of those situations where you start wondering, well, the positive revolt in Lebanon made me so happy. I had to let him go. He got to keep the money too. Well, things happen when you screw with people's livelihoods, right? Um, but yeah, you got to. Not everyone can suddenly conjure cash if you're trying to be prepared. But remember, when you do any kind of financial study, you got your revenue, your profit, what you're getting paid, and then your costs, right? Ideally, your costs are below what you get paid. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes it's the other way. If you can't make more money, you try to find ways to cut your costs, right? And then that gives you that margin between what you're taking in and what you're coming out. And I think a lot of people, if you look at your personal and family situation the same way, it might help give some clarity as to what your next step will be. So, for instance, for me, yeah, I put a little money into this upgraded shelving, but now I have more room, which means over the next year uh, I can buy, more bulk goods or whatever, break them up, store them, and I have a place to put them that's not crazy and all over the floor. So in the longer term, at least in my mind, in my calculation, it pays back. In the long term, it's a positive. But you can even repurpose what you have now. It's really weird. I'm really curious to see what happens this week because I think it's just now really starting to hit the general public. Whereas all of us, like in the online community, we've been watching this for a hot minute, right? We've been watching the banks are being squirrely, the supply chain squirrely. We don't know it's like that, walking on thin ice. You don't know what's going to give out first, but you're kind of watching all of it, trying to see, all right, well, which one's going to, you know, suck one of us under. So my father never kept money in the bank. He had it banked in a. Mm. And that may not be a bad idea. Make sure at least you have some. I squeal cried the day I saw that in happy tears. I was cheering him on to shoot the teller. No, don't shoot the teller. Shoot the manager. The teller's just there, probably making minimum wage. Um, and technically, you shouldn't shoot people. That's frowned upon. But oh, the Air Force is back. Maybe you'll get to see a C-130 go over my head here. Um, God, that's loud. Oh, wait, I'm going to turn it up. Let me see if y'all can. There he is. I don't know if you guys got a good look at that, but that little speck. The picture looks really distant. He's actually really well. Oh, that's a C-17. Never mind. Close enough. Uh, yeah, crates work really well, and you can get really creative. I saw someone use pallets, like clean pallets. Yeah, I thought it was a C-130, but doesn't the 130 doesn't have a T-tail? That's a C-17, right? Or am I getting them? That was spy balloon. No, no, no spy balloons today. Uh, so I'm near in a 3-hour circle driving. I have 4 Air Force bases, because it's Texas. We got Air Force bases all over the place. And so it's not uncommon to see the Air Force guys do touch and goes in the airports out here. And the kids stop and everyone's like, but it's the same big transport. And then they fly away and piss off everyone's dogs. Um, Set off a few car alarms. The other day, about 3 weeks ago, they had ospreys out here, the Marine Corps ospreys. And that I thought was weird because I never have seen them here. I've been here years now. I'd see them in Houston right on the coast, off Galveston doing maneuvers. I never see them out here. There's no Navy base anywhere near here, no Marine Corps base, not aviation anyway. So I don't know what they were doing out here, but they were flying around the airport. So I guess they were doing some kind of training. Um, yeah, but I've noticed a lot of little things out of place. Like the Ospreys, like we're watching a bank, one of the top 20 banks in America just arbitrarily takes a dump and nobody knows why. And so the FDIC, I did read on a report, the FDIC will insure certain accounts to $250,000. Side up farm, always flyovers. Oh, yeah, for sure. B-17. So they have an air show out here, and they had a B-17. They had the biplanes. Somebody was flying a Japanese Zero around, which you rarely get to see. There's so few of them left. That was really cool to see. Um, they're just beautiful airplanes. I think there's something so classy about them. But the C7s they're just ugly. But anyway, as I was saying, we're seeing a lot of little things out of place. The FDIC, when Silicon Valley went under, they actually will insure up to 250 or whatever the amount is for only savings and checking. After that, if you had more money than that for whatever reason, or if you had like certain other items in the bank, you got a note. Basically, you got a depository note where the FDIC is confirming you do have this much money in this bank, but until we complete the shutdown and sale of its assets, you have nothing but that paper that says you have something. And I think what happened in China, where a lot of people were tempted with very high interest rates to invest in or put their money in investment accounts as opposed to actual savings and checking account, which are protected. I think that's part of why they had so many riots in China. And I think what you're going to see here, and that's the other thing, Magic, is right. Most of the populace won't have 250 grand in their bank accounts. But the problem is if they don't get the assets back or they can't sell them in a coherent way, hey, MMS, what's going on? What happens to the people? Like, how do you pay your mortgage? It's concerning. I think right now they've got something is on fire and they're trying to cover it instead of put it out. And so I'm really curious, and I don't know if you guys have any thoughts what we're going to see in the next, say, 14 business days, like the next 2 weeks. What's going to happen? What are we going to see? God, that got bright out here. It's hard to say. Hey, Vision, what's going on? I caught the tail end of your camera check, by the way. Hey, Annie, what's going on? Uh, yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Like I said, so you've got Silicon Valley Bank, Wells Fargo, Etsy had an issue. Um, Economic Ninjas reporting, and a few other people are reporting that the Japanese banks are already giving a heads up that they're having some cash flow issues, which blows my mind because it's a freaking bank. Like, where else would cash be but a bank? So, like I said in my other video, nice outside. I see, yeah. No, it's nice today. It's about, oh shoot, what is it? It's about 75 degrees, 70 degrees. It's dry as it normally is out here. Um, my grass doesn't grow very well because it doesn't know what time of year it is. And to be honest, we're next to the desert out here. We're just the high Sierra Plains. So great for planting grapes, great wine, but not so great for planting anything else. Um, Cactus. If you want to, you could get a bunch of prickly pear. Probably plant agave out here and make some nice tequila plants, but that's about it. Uh, but yeah, we're gonna see. I'm curious to see where this is gonna go this week. As I said on my previous live stream, I'm I'm watching the companies, all these companies that I deal with, and other companies. In 18 months ago, they all decided we're gonna move. Bad management or worse. That's a good way to put it. They all went to what do you call? I think BlackRock pulled all his money out of Silicon Bank. See, Annie, and that pisses me off if that's true because it's like, oh, no insider trading unless you're insider trading. And it's like, really? Hey, Wolf fan, what's going on? And anyone I missed in the chat, I'm not on StreamYard, so everything's really small on my iPad. But to me, that's frustrating. And interesting mom with 18 wouldn't let her have anything. So Carl, true story, the night, and I always keep reserve cash, but the night Trump announced we're going to declare the C-19 a pandemic and a national emergency. You remember that night? He did a speech about 6 o'clock at night. We were actually at the store and I got the little news bling and I looked and I showed it to my wife and she's like, well, let's go hit the bank on the way home. We'll take an extra, couple of $100 out. My bank wouldn't let me do it. As a matter of fact, what we wound up doing, we went back to Target or Walmart, wherever the hell we were, and bought like a case of a 12 pack of soda each. And I took out like whatever it lets you, like 60, and she took out 60, and there was, our cash. But yeah, the ATMs wouldn't give me money that night. So that doesn't surprise me at all because I've seen it happen. Yeah, Navi, absolutely. I'm sure that a lot of people who knew way ahead of the rest and they took action ahead of the rest of us, which I think nauseates me more than anything because that really hurts all of us. What's sad is if a company goes under the way the laws are written right now, so if a company goes under, first they pay the creditors, the investors, the debtors, then the people who are owed money, like us, the common folks, are last. I don't know how it works for banks, but it's concerning when you think about it that, if people were trading ahead of the shutdown of that bank, why aren't they under investigation? And what's worse is the fact that Silicon Valley Bank has clearly affected at least Etsy. It probably has affected other companies, right? Because if I took a loan out of that bank, well, what's the status of my loan? How do I fund my company? Interesting too. No one warned Prince Harry. He had everything in that bag. So, so they cratered Prince Harry, and they cratered the platform that's probably one of the biggest online platforms for independent businesses, other than like Square. So, if you start seeing Square have problems, you start seeing Venmo have problems. That's going to be concerning because that's a quick way to crush up a lot of small businesses. Uh, Prince Harry, that Navi finds that funny. Um, I don't know what to make of Prince Harry. They cratered Roku too. Oh, that's a good. Okay, so Vision, that's a good point, and Coral also. So in a case if so, Roku would get their money once the FDIC figures things out. Roku might get their money before the people do, which sucks for the people, but the philosophy is if we keep the company afloat, then we don't have a bunch of laid off people. And I get the generic idea, but yeah, it's see, so it got Roku, it got it hurt Etsy. Etsy wasn't all eggs in one basket, which was good, but it still hurt Etsy. They're trying to move everything to another bank. But that's concerning, guys. You think about it, it's not just people's checking and savings. This is people's businesses, their home mortgages. Like, what if you have a mortgage with that? Where does it go? It's going to go to another company. Now, if you have a standard mortgage, you got a fixed rate legally. So the new bank isn't going to change it, right? So your interest rate is your interest rate, and that's what it is. But if you had an adjustable rate, then the new bank, after so many months, might change your interest rate. And then you're going to have a problem. There were a lot of people that didn't get paychecks there too. Yeah, Wells Fargo did not give out paychecks. 3 to 6 months. Wow. And that's awful. Still getting paid from Uber. and Dee Dee so far. Well, that's good. That's good. And again, my iPads might overheat, so if I suddenly drop off, I didn't just die. Um, the iPad got hot, although it's not very hot out here. But folks, take those steps, the little steps, like I said, changing your storage, which was my project this weekend, which is why I look so tired right now. Um, hey, book club, what's going on? Uh, Try to change your cost structure if you can. Not everyone can do it, right? So, like, you eat out less, obviously, it costs you, it's cheaper to eat at home, right? Most of us already talked about that. If you could cook, great. Now, if you're good at baking, bake food for other folks, right? Because there might be busy families where mom or dad can't bake stuff or cook stuff. So there are families in my neighborhood right now who are doing like, there's one gal, she came from, I forgot what city in Mexico. She does like the authentic tamales, like the big ones. So every Friday she says, "Hey, I'm making tamales for this week. Who would like, pork? I have pork and chicken this week." And her price is fair, and I'm sure she's making money because she's making them herself, and it's become her side hustle. And I've even seen people in the neighborhood said, "Hey, I make fresh bread," and someone else said, "Well, I don't have cash. Can I give you a bottle of red wine?" And now they're starting to barter in the neighborhood trading posts, which I think is cool because they're thinking about it now. They're like, "Oh, we got other ways we can do that." Oh, book club, man. Some of the tamales. I mean, they're like not like, "Oh, here's your Walmart tamale." Ugh. No, it's like you open it and burn your fingers kind of tamale. Sancho Sunday. That's terrible. For those of you who are wondering, Sancho's like a Jody or a Charlie, like the other person. So that's funny. Barter is smart. It's definitely a good thing. We've actually had people who said, "Hey, I bought this bag of chips. None of the kids like it. Um, if you want it, I don't want it to go to waste." It wasn't even worth selling, but other families were like, "Hey, I'll take that because my kids love them." Um, Someone in the neighborhood said, "Hey, we're adopting our niece unexpectedly because there was some issue, drugs, custody, that kind of thing." And it said, "We desperately need little girl clothes." And people donated. They legit said, "Hey, look, my kid just outgrew all this. I'm going to wash him. I'll call you in the morning." So, you know, these are things you can do with your neighbors. Grew across from a roach coach. I'll tell you what, Joe, I got to send you some pictures of the food trucks in Texas. They they are next level. Like there's one that's so popular that they actually go to the local brewery and he makes artisan pizzas, like the ones about that big with the really crispy crust, and they'll fill the brewery because of that guy. Not that the beer is a bad thing, but yeah, everyone is doing well. Right, Carl, that's absolutely right. Um, the it's insane that the banks are struggling, but they're trying to buy each other. I'm not sure. Oh, did Carpenter jump in on me here? Oh, there he is. Hey, Carpenter, what's going on? Um, Honestly, there's a lot of ways we can get around this time. And keep in mind, right? Like I said in the other video, when the Roman Empire went down, it didn't collapse in a day. It was years that it just things started failing. And then there was a time of transition, and then there was a rebuilding, and it was quite epic. There were a lot of things happened that were good. Um, we're witnessing it again, right? You're going to see those things come apart. The question is, how good will they put it back together and in what way? And will you be positioned personally to succeed on the other side, to live well on the other side? Um, Wells Fargo is stupid. That bank, I battled that bank in the past. I'll never like I'll turn down loans from them any day of the week. Independent. Hey, how you doing? Hey, KY, what's going on? Estoy lo más bien, KY. Or Kentucky. KY sounds weird, yeah, because that's the other stuff too. Sorry about that. I didn't think about it till I said it out loud. Oh yeah, food trucks are great. So Joe, just to make you crazy more, so we have an artisan pizza truck, we have a Pachuco's, which is pulled pork. There's three that do different type of South South Carolina barbecue. Then you have your usual your taco trucks, and one is actually carnival food, but he's open year round. So you suddenly get a desire for funnel cake at 2 a.m. or 2 a.m., 2 p.m. on a Saturday. You don't need to wait for the carnival. You just go there. So I see a lot of families by the carnival guy. He sets up outside of Lowe's here, and I should do a small business shout out to him next time I'm over there. Yeah, bless Joe. We can't let you out. See, we let Joe loose. This is what he. Oh man, that's too funny. But anyway, folks, now's a good time. Look, it's going to be really weird this week. In my opinion, I'm curious to see what's going to pan out. I'm really curious. What are we going to see happen, and uh, and how are they going to maneuver it? And this is a weird time. And honestly, there are a lot of parallels to what happened before and around World War I, World War II, where you had the pandemic, the Spanish flu, you had the banking issues, you had recessions, depressions, um, you had countries poking each other. Hey, did Kissoff sneak in on me here? Hey, what's going on? So, well, constitutional, I've noticed in general, so preppers were talking about C19 at the end of 2019. I actually did a white paper. I was working at the S5 shop in my last unit, and I was the only engineer in there. So I did a short paper on it, and a lot of people were like, ah, it's just the flu, right? And then C19, ta da, everything shut down. We were about 6 months ahead. So we were talking about it, what, December-ish? uh, November, December, November, December, January, February, March. We shut down US in March. We're about 5 months. When the supply chain issues happened, we were talking about it in June. It really hit everyone that first December. Then the inflationary effect, we've been ahead about 4 to 6 months from the general public, but I think this one's going to hit people really personally. Um, to your point, yeah, Kentucky. Yeah, what happens when you can't cash your check and you're living paycheck to paycheck, or your mortgage doesn't arrive, right? How are you going to do that? Now there are tools you can use, right? If your paycheck doesn't arrive, you can call the companies and say, "Hey, my bank had an issue. My company deposited." You can get a statement from your company stating, "Yes, this person is being paid. The bank is having an issue." Um, So you guys may want to understand, depending on where you work, who can provide that kind of documentation if your bank has an issue. Uh, Also, again, watch how your investments are going. Spread your money out a little bit. Do you have to, or less in the banks? I've heard you're fully insured. So independent, we were talking about that a little earlier. The checking and savings, depending on the amount, at least for the Silicon Valley, you can get half of whatever you had immediately and the other half within 3 to 6 months as they sell the bank assets to other locations. So, but if you're living paycheck to paycheck, that's going to put you in a bind very quickly, especially if you don't have a reserve stash somewhere on a different bank. Using different banks for different types of accounts, not a bad idea. Some banks are not as stupid as others. Yeah, FDIC has 99 years, but yeah, I mean, there'll be a riot before 99. Hell, 99 days and people will be freaking out. Uh, we all thought 2020 was bad with the fighting and the riots and the idiots. Wait, when people can't feed their kids for real, oof, um, for real. But yeah, Mary, no worries. Um, but yeah, if you at least have that, you could depend, especially if you're in a smaller company, you can talk to them and say, hey, how do we do this? What can we do? Um, I know during like one of the hurricanes hit when it was after Katrina maybe, it clobbered New Orleans. The company couldn't pay people, not that they didn't have money in a bank somewhere. There was no bank open. So they were moving employees who didn't need to be in the area for emergency reasons they basically rented out an entire hotel. Everyone was assigned a room. And they made a letter stating this person is affected by Hurricane Katrina. Um, we expect to have normal banking in 2 weeks or whatever, or a month, and then people could at least present that to their banks as evidence. So you can't get the letter now because we don't know what's going to happen, but you can at least position yourself to know who to ask. This is going to set people who have auto pay. Yeah. So if that happens, if your bank has an issue, I would immediately don't wait. I've said the same thing about unemployment. Don't wait. Immediately file with the bank or with the auto lender. Hey, here's a statement. They're having an issue. I'm still gainfully employed. The bank is screwed up. And they may have options for you. All I'm doing right now, what you got to do if something bad happens, it's like prepping in general. What you're doing, you're buying yourself time, right? This is where you're having an SHTF, and this is, you kind of giving yourself a buffer between when they're going to actually do something to your house or something. So let's know if Chris. I'll let you know if Chris Pop being used by the starts going fast. We'll know what's up. Yeah, true. Well, they cratered one crypto, so yeah, we don't know what the money system is doing. Yeah, interesting. That's an interesting point. Yeah, no. Yeah, it is. They didn't hit. They didn't hit the supply side fast enough. Yeah, for sure. Though. Well, and you know what, Carpenter? There's people are seeing because now it's in their face. Now, Aunt Bessie's Etsy cratered, or so and so friend, his company had their money in Silicon Valley, and now they can't pay their people. But most won't take it right like that with the government shutdown. Yeah. So check your loan policy. That's a very good point, Kentucky. Honestly, kiss off. I know enough about digital and crypto to be dangerous. To me, I understood the gold and silver standard. I understood, oh, futures open in 30 minutes. I should move to to my other screen and do a short on that. But our current dollar system is based on petroleum cost as well as GDP of a nation. So if the U.S. creates the GDP of $10 trillion, right, then you have so many dollars. That's the equivalent value of your each individual dollars based on whatever we're selling to other countries. But what's crypto based on? An algorithm of what if I hack the algorithm and I make myself a bunch of Bitcoin? That makes it worthless. Like what does it do? What is it used for? uh Ask Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, they seem to. Wolfgang, that's absolutely right. She seems to have it, Dan. To the screen I can't reach. Yeah, no kidding. That was yeah, that's the last. It's in a Jack Daniels glass, which is kind of ironic. But I'm a hold in my hand guy if I can. Well, that's my point. Like, I can at least say, okay, the US produces X goods and we have Y dollars, so each, you know, dollar is worth so much in goods. I can get that conceptually. What is a crypto? How do we know who's making crypto? What does the president go bleep $10 million? I mean, weird, weird. Um, my other thought is they're going to scare everyone into crypto, and then the cryptos will all get hacked or crash, and then everyone will really be broke. I don't know. It's just weird. Book club, that is good information. Yeah, if there, we need to. You would think every politician and their immediate family would have to disclose annually to the IRS or to some other congressional agency what trades they're doing. Because, if I'm a senator and I know something, well, I may not tell, I may tell my wife, don't buy anything, but I might tell my goddaughter to buy something. And then you give me some of the money on the backside. Nobody could prove anything. So honestly, book club, honestly, that's where I started the video today. Was I just put in a whole new like commercial shelving in the garage to give myself more room to kind of inventory. Now everything's spread out, so I can visually see what I have very quickly, and I can see what's going on. But yeah, a lot of folks, it's we'd be better off investing in your homestead, buying food, making sure your car is in good shape, making sure your health is good. Um, you putting off that dental work, go get it done now. If you can swing it, your car's tires are a little funky, go get those new ones, even if you got to get the cheap ones. Invest in physical things now, because if we can't, if we can't buy anything, you want to make sure what you do have is functional as much as you can. So yeah, do the things at home. The Vision just said, cook, collaborate, trade with other folks. Yeah, and your teeth will mess you up. People underappreciate the fact that a tooth infection will kill you. I'd rather have an open cut on a leg than a tooth infection, right? Because I can see what's going on there. This stuff will go up the nerve into your sinus cavity, and you will be in a bad place very quickly. Hey, Tarsha, what's going on? So, folks, new tires sucked. It was a huge blow. Yeah, right. And if you can swing it now while things are actually still working, I would do that. Don't be crazy. Keep in budget, but be smart about what you do. Um, you know, we were trying to get a different vehicle for Sassy. Hey, 300. And we looked at the interest rates. We looked at the prices on the market. She's like, "Look, my car's working. Let's keep running with what we got, and we'll figure it out later." Um, yeah, we're on the same page. My daughter and her fiance, they got some property. They're trying to expand it because she wants to put a greenhouse in. But they're in the building phase, so that's the tough part. They're renting while they're building, and so if they get caught in this, they're going to be between houses and whatnot. But he can still sell the land, right? So that was smart. Um, hey, wait, who jumped in? Hey, Texas Psychobilly, welcome, welcome. Hey, Nodaway, I think it's Nodaway in there. Yeah. Hey. So yeah, yeah, it is very expensive out there, book club. So folks, now's a great time to look at what you have and take care of, instead of getting more. If you can get more, great. Don't take me the wrong way, but look at what you have and what do you have to fix. You got to make that repair on the house, do it while everything's still functional. You got to get that tooth fixed, go get it done now. Sooner than later is better if you can. um, Upgrade your shelving system like I did. I'm going to sell off the old one. I'll get about half back from the old stuff if I can sell it for what I paid for the new one. I'm not stressed either way. Now I have room. I can look and see what I got. Um, I've added quite a bit of storage options to myself. So do those things that don't require a lot of money if you can, and prioritize health, food, and wellness first, and then just kind of go down the list from there. I don't know. Somebody had said, I think it was Carpenter, or somebody said, I'm sorry, I don't remember who told me now. The forecasts, the futures for tomorrow are gonna post here in an hour, 30 minutes or so. So yes, Carpenter's right. Start working out, even if it's just walking the dog around the block 3 times instead of once. Uh, do your rounds. Get yourself get yourself fit. Make sure you have your basics and the stuff's still on the way. Hey, a stovetop's important. You got to cook, right? So, yeah, folks, just again, this wasn't a planned live. This is kind of an ad hoc, but there's a lot of moving parts right now. Maximize your storage space as best you can. If you can repurpose what you already have, honestly, financially, I'm going to start taking a very defensive position going forward, right? If I see a stock that's gone up in my accounts for whatever reason, I'm not going to play, oh, well, I want 20% more. No, fuck it. I made money. Great. I already got my taxes figured out. That's done. Um, I'm going to go through the vehicles. I keep my vehicles in pretty good shape, make sure both vehicles are ready to run. Um, I'm going to go through the shed next weekend, see where I can make changes there to store different stuff. Anything I don't need, I'm going to sell, try and get some cash for it and or trade it and get something back for it. And I'm gonna try and take a more defensive position and just kind of make myself ready. Not in a panic. I'm going to try to be systemic about it, but make myself ready if this continues to spill over. Um, I don't think it's going to come crashing down like 1931 where and everything just died, or 1929 everything just died. I think it's going to be more erratic, and it's going to be really hard for folks like us who are really trying hard to pay attention to it to figure out what the hell's happening. Because like, this bank here freaked out, this one thought they were freaking out, but no, they're good, but then this one cratered. Um, and also remember, in hard times you get people start behaving badly. And I know Joe Morgan and I have chatted about this on Discord. um, Things get tough, people start getting, even if they're not outright stealing or being, yeah, psychobilly, absolutely. And but I don't think the dominoes will fall in a straight line. Like I think you'll hit one here and one over here is going to fall. I think it's going to be really erratic, and it's going to be really hard because none of us know like what company is tied to what bank. So if a bank goes down, we won't know. Well, it's kind of like we're like whack-a-mole. You're waiting to see who craters. Um, but yeah, you're going to see people not just behaving badly. They're going to be temperamental. They're going to be stressed. Um, Sadly, you're probably going to see a lot more. Al Turner said Bank of America is going to be next. No, Bank of America tried to screw me during the '08 crash on a rental, and they can bite me. Bunch of cretins there. But yeah, be vigilant. Yes, people will be. So there's a thing in Houston called jugging, where, and I'm sure you've heard of it, where they'll scope out a bank that they know has ATMs, or an ATM like out in the street, and they'll look at someone who's pulling, looks like they're pulling cash and seems to be an easy target, and go follow them and follow you home. So again, a general crime, right? That's not the first time creepers follow someone home. Be aware of your surroundings. Pay attention as you're out and about. And again, when you're driving somewhere, don't I we get tired, right? When we're driving too long, we go on autopilot. Take a lap around the parking lot and see what's in there. And if you see something sus and you have a meeting, because I've done this, I went to in Dallas, and there was a bunch of cretins in the parking lot, and they were arguing with each other. So I made a couple of rounds. By the time I came back the second time, the cops had run everyone off. And I just pulled at a red light and texted the people, hey, got caught behind an accident. I'm going to be 10 minutes late. There was no accident. There was idiots. But you know what? I didn't need to be getting out of a vehicle with my laptop bag and my suit in front of a bunch of guys who clearly were not up to no, they were up to no good. So situational awareness, but now's a good time to be a little more defensive in your approach. If you can extend and buy what you need, great, but try to maximize what you already have in your home. I think that's going to make a big difference, and it may even help you organize your thinking a little more. I saw a few chats go by here. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac should be punished. Yeah, no kidding. Oh, Bank of America is the devil. Jugging. See, and that's what I always thought it was, but apparently it's and Texas Psychobilly is probably heard about that phrase. If you're in Texas, that went on a lot in Houston. Um, yep, absolutely, Papa's. A few weeks ago, someone was going to try. No, Joe. You know what though? I had God, true story. I was picking up my in-laws, and they were afraid to fly, and we couldn't drive down. They were 6 hours away, so they said we'll take the Greyhound. I'm like, oh, all right, fine. So they showed up in the evening at a Greyhound station in Houston. And those of you who've been to Houston know that. Oh, well, shit, Chuck. All right, so now I know who it is. There was a strip club. That's so bad, Nostra. Anyway, I pulled up with the wife, and she was driving her SUV because I had more room. And my brother-in-law didn't make that trip, so and he's a martial arts instructor, so when he's with the old folks, I'm not as worried. Anyway, I got out. I told her, "Hey, stay in the car here." So she parked at the end of the block. There's like parking, and then you go around, and that's where the exit is. So I walked and met the old folks, and I was walking back. And at the time, my father-in-law is disabled, so he had a cane. He wasn't walking fast, so I told him, "Stay with me," because I saw the panhandlers, like just stay with me, don't run off on me. And of course, as we turned the corner, my mother-in-law, who has no disability in her legs, sees my wife and goes, "Oh, there she is," and she walks ahead. And I'm like, "Mom, stay with me." But now the two old folks separated, and I can't keep up with her and keep up with him because he's on the cane. Anyway, I kid you not, she got about midway through the block, and there were no other families. There was like a stretch of nothing in the car park. Yes, 300, you know exactly which one. Okay, so we were on the McDonald's side, right? You probably know exactly what I'm talking about. And she's walking, and I kid you not, it looked like you ever seen a video of predators attacking a wildebeest and like the wolves come from four different directions? They literally converged on her all at once. And my wife, God bless her, she turns on that big SUV. She rolls forward with her horn on all the way and then screeches to a halt in front of mom, right? Scared the crap out of everybody, right? So everyone froze to look at her. She pops open the tailgate and she gets out and goes, "Mom, give me your bags. Why didn't you stay with Pete?" And so she's getting after her mom. Anyway, finally, that distraction gave me the 60, 120 seconds I needed with father-in-law to make it to the SUV. So we put their stuff in, and I said, and he was a little more savvy. I'm like, "Hey, these guys are up to no good." He says, "I already saw him. Already saw him. The old man already knew." And he was complaining. He's like, "I should have brought my revolver." I'm like, "You can't bring that in a Greyhound. Just get in the SUV." And I kid you not, they had converged on us. They were and one guy had his hand on the front of my wife's SUV. My wife was already back in the passenger seat. Mother was in. The old man was in. I was throwing the last bags up. And he's like, "Hey, you got cash?" And I see two coming behind me. I said, "You need to stay the fuck away. And you two, I see you." And I put my back, there was a metal fence, put my back to the fence so I could see peripherally both sides. And they're like, "Yo," and he did that, and I unholstered, but I didn't draw. And I said, "Bro, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy." So he now he's up to the driver's window of my wife's SUV, looking at her and looking at me, going, "What, man?" And he looks at her the second time, and her kimber's like this on her chest, and that barrel's right at his face. And he looks down and looks at her. His eyes get real wide, looks at me. Like I said, we're not those people. She's not that girl. I'm not that guy. Why don't you have a good night? I was still holstered. I was out in public. He's looking down the barrel of a Kimber. And I turned to the other two, and they had already turned around. The one old guy drinking a beer, he's like, "I'm all good, man." I'm like, "No, you're good, man. You're not my problem. Everyone else is my problem. You're fine." Um, and that one turned around, and then I waited until everyone cleared before I took my back off that fence. But folks, I kid you not, it took me about what, 5 minutes to explain this story. um that happened in, had to have been 60 seconds. It happened like that. And when it happened, literally, this was years ago, literally, I had one, two, there was the couple here, the guy behind the SUV, looking in the back mirror, the guy in the front of the truck, and another was crossing the street. So one, two, three, four, five, six. And that, like that. I mean, literally, it happened so fast. So, folks, keep that situational awareness up. I just thought I'd share that story with you. Um, Unfortunately, it didn't get ugly. I didn't want it to get ugly. That would just be awful for everyone. You know, I don't get any glee of having to do such things, but you can't do that. No. And true story, actually, Prepper Book Club, Mrs. Pete over here, Sassy, the only girl I've seen not in a uniform run off a poacher on her daddy's ranch. I saw that in person. It was for lack of a good sight picture, not for lack of intent. And that vehicle was not in good shape when it left. You didn't hit anyone, but the vehicle was well on its way with some new adornments on the back door of the van as it sped down the ranch road. Uh, so yeah, your girlfriend's going to get her concealed carry next weekend. See, and that's you. You have to in the. I can't see the. Yeah, folks, if you can get your licensure, and Triple Threat can speak to this in 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 great detail. Hey, Suburban, um, make sure you carry legally, because if you have to use it and you're carrying illegally, granted you're alive, that's good, but now you got to go to the jury, way more complicated. If you could do a prepaid legal with, like, what is it, USCCA, Texas Law Shield, US Law Shield, any of those, that definitely is good too. Um, because that way you have that protection if you get rolled into a courtroom, which you likely will, unless it's uh, blatantly something stupid. You're going to have to go and at least go to a hearing of some type just to make sure you were legit, unless they kicked in your bedroom door. So, in any case, folks, I'm going to wrap this one up. I was going to come out here for like 20 minutes and we were like having a whole conversation for an hour. But, folks, now, honestly, myself, I'm going to start taking a defensive mode. I'm going to start maximizing my current space, reorganizing what I've got so I have eyes on what I need, what I don't need, so I don't overbuy something I already have. If you can reposition, if you have like investments or bank accounts, talk to your advisor, make sure they're not full of it, spread it around. A little extra cash doesn't hurt either. Folks, be careful out there, be safe. This is going to be a weird week. Hopefully it's boring, but it could be weird. And if it's weird, we want to be sure we did everything we could to. Thank you, Vision. And thank you, mods, all the mods who jumped in and out throughout the chat. Do everything you can to position yourself the best you can. And yes, great time for an inventory. Spring cleaning, baby. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. You guys be good, be safe. God bless. And I'm going to go get my dogs out before they destroy the house fighting with each other. I will see you guys later.